Get out!
Hello tanks and tankettes, welcome to another replay. This is from a little ways back, not that far though, only an 8.11 patch game. So this was, now let's see, I've actually got the date here. This was from February. This is while I was still grinding for the top gun on my Torty. So this is a 20-pounder Tortoise. It's basically got a machine gun with this particular setup, but you really do want the top gun with the Tortoise. The 20-pounder is kind of just about barely adequate. It's an okay gun for grinding with, but yeah, the top gun is just so much better. However, like I said, it is basically a machine gun. It's got an exceptional rate of fire, given that it's a 20-pounder gun with a less than 40-second reload. 40, wow. Definitely less than a 40-second reload, less than a 4-second reload. It's Himmelsdorf encounter, or just make the minimap slightly bigger there, and most of our team's going to the hill, and that's okay. That's actually not a terrible thing. I've decided I'm going to go and be sort of relatively cautious. I'm top tier, and it's very good matchmaking, but the Tortoise is, well, slow. It's very slow moving, it's very slow turning, so it's actually quite easy to counter a lone Tortoise with more than one enemy. Hell, even one enemy that knows what they're doing can counter a Tortoise, unless you can use your rate of fire to track them, basically. But if they manage to sneak around behind you, then that's it, you've pretty much had it. There is an IS-3 there as well, so I know I'm not totally alone. He's actually spotted a few things. We basically need the guys on the hill to do their business. I need to keep the cap clear, and this should be reasonably easy to win. Should be. This is, of course, World of Tanks. The IS-3 is actually staying alive. There's another IS-3 over in K0 there that hasn't moved yet, so I don't know. Hopefully he moves sooner rather than later. You basically need every person you can get in this particular game mode. Well, in every battle, really. We're starting to lose some tanks, though. That's not so good. I decided not to go to the hill because I am such a slow tank, and the fact is, although this has got very good gun depression, the placement of that MG cupola, or somebody picked me up on that actually, the cupola versus cupola. I don't know, I always say cupola, but maybe it's more correctly British to say cupola. I don't know, one of those two. The sticky out thing on the top of the tank, when you're just peeking over, it's very, very easy to hit on, well, all of the British TDs really, the Tortoise is no exception. So, yeah, that didn't seem like such a good idea, that coupled with the speed. Anyway, there's a Tiger 2, spanked him a bit. There's a Centurion 7-1, who potentially could be a very dangerous target. Quite squashy though, that Tiger 2 had the stock turret, so I'm not that concerned about him, but still more than enough pen to actually get my weak spots. Now, I don't know what's going on quite here with the reticle when I'm zooming out. It's slightly bugging out. I'm not quite sure why that is. But anyway, it's hopefully not too annoying. I'm just actually waiting for something to happen now. There's a Centurion moving. I've got a lot of ammo, so I'm not afraid to waste a little bit. You don't want to waste too much, but yeah, you'll also know I didn't have any APCR, and I basically decided for some reason I was going to try doing this grind without using lots of APCR. And the accuracy and rate of fire on this gun mean that actually it's not terrible to use it without. But I've just spotted a Carnarvon. I really should have tried to track that Centurion, and I didn't. Someone else has tracked the Carnarvon. I don't think it was me. But I'm quite carefully aiming for his lower front plate because I know that the upper front plate is almost certainly going to bounce my shot, and the turret almost certainly will as well. However, this gun is accurate enough to just keep placing shots in the lower front plate over and over again. I do track him before he can fully back away, and that's quite a lucky hit, all things considered. If I can repeat it, that'd be nice, but no, it smacks into the wall. And the IS-3 gets him instead, which is quite nice. So that Centurion 1, fortunately, is not coming for me. I've already punished him a bit, but yeah, I guess because I've got the IS-3 protecting my flank. I don't know, I'm not going to speak as to his skill at all. I have no way of telling. But the fact is that because that IS-3 was protecting my flank, he didn't try and flank himself. The IS-3 is down and he's still just trying to cap, so maybe he's not that good of a player. He could, if he'd known what he was doing, he could have, I think, quite easily flanked down the 3 line. And yeah, I know there's at least one tiger up there. There's a tiger 2 that's popped out behind me. The team list isn't looking very good at the moment. Another stock tiger 2. Well, okay, not going to complain about that. The guys on the hill have managed to get flanked, and it's 5-9. It's not looking great. I think it's still doable though. There we go. 1500 damage from a single target. Yes, please. Still got most of my health. That Centurion 7-1 seems totally intent on capping. At least I know I don't have to worry about him trying to flank me. And there's another Tiger 2, who is also stock. I mean, the enemy team had, what, 3 stock Tiger 2s, which is a bit unfortunate for them. But despite that, they're still doing okay. The hill, yeah, the hill's going very badly. It's now 2 versus 3. That other IS-3 that was AFK is still AFK. That could be potentially game-changing. 7-11, I really need to get aggressive at this point. I've got most of my hit points. If I can take these, if I can clear out this area here, I maybe have a chance of properly defending myself. This Centurion 1 was so passive. I don't think he really did much damage at all. That was a very rushed shot. I could have tracked that Tiger 2 and again had a nice time with this rate of fire. But now I've got a problem because I've got targets coming at me from 2 angles at once, so I really need to take out the Centurion, track him. Hopefully he won't repair in time. He does damage me though, and he does repair, and I do get another shot in though, at least. 34 health left. Now this Tiger 2 is going to pop out any moment. There he is, and he hurts me unfortunately. But I can't turn my back on either of these guys. 59-16 behind me. T-32's turned up to the party. Unfortunately I waste precious seconds by tracking him. I mean, he can't then get away, but if I can get this Centurion who's just being silly, basically. Oh, look at that guy. Right, ignoring the 59-16, he probably can't hurt me. He's got the auto-loader. Concentrate on the Tiger 2. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of health in that encounter. There's also an IS-3 back there who can't immediately shoot at me. But we've just about won the hill, actually. The 2 guys remaining have clawed it back. I don't think I can out-DPM this Tiger 2. At this range, he's not going to miss my weak spots. And the 59-16 tracks me, and the IS-3 finishes me off. Not much I could do about that. 5.3k damage with the 20-pounder gun. And I was feeling quite pessimistic at this point because they're all relatively low damage, but the fact is that they could just start capping, which is what's going to happen. And there we go. I just flick over to see what this IS-3 is doing. See the Tiger 2, who is unfortunately low health. At this point I become really pessimistic because the Tiger 2 is low health and the T-34 is also really low health. These guys are all one-shot kills. We do have a full health IS-3 who hasn't moved the entire match. That guy could swing it. If he just comes alive at this point, that could basically make this game a win. Because at the moment, this is, unless these guys were really good and really working together in concert, I don't think we can take this. And you can see that I'm giving them some information that the Tiger 2's got lots of damage. I was too flustered to notice the IS-3's health, but the Tiger 2's a one-shot. And somebody else says the Tiger 3, IS-3 180 health. So both the enemies are one-shots as well, but the problem is they've got a kind of reasonable chance of it. It depends who spots who and who gets the shot off first. And the problem is when you're approaching a static enemy, they're always going to have an advantage, because when you're approaching an enemy like that, you have to stop and aim, whereas they are already sitting there aimed at where they think you might pop out, basically. So the Tiger 2's dead. T-34, I don't know if he plays kind of smart. Somebody shoots the wreck. Oh, and I was wrong about the Tiger 2 being a one-shot. He had 500 odd health. And then I go back to look at the IS-3 and I realise, yeah, the fact that his turret's pointing around in different directions when I've been looking at him. I just told them at this point where he was, because he hasn't moved all battle. He's not going to suddenly spring to life in the last, 10 seconds or whatever. It's just, yeah. And then his turret does this. perfect 90-degree turn, yeah, this guy was botting, basically. And I think I even reported him via the ticket system. You know, I did an in-game report. I think I reported him via the ticket system and basically got the standard reply of use the in-game system, which is, yeah. Wargaming is a bit kind of funny about these things in terms of, like, how much information they want. They just tell you to use the in-game system and trust that if they get enough reports about a particular player. Whereas if you've got evidence like that, which is very, very solid evidence that somebody's using a bot program, they just don't seem to want that. I don't know, it's a bit... Anyway, it was a pretty irritating defeat, all things considered, because that was the most damage I'd done in the Tortoise up to that point with the 20-pounder gun, and I was thinking I had a shot at first class mastery, maybe even ace mastery with 5k damage plus, but all things considered, that even if it was a win, I probably wouldn't have gone the ace mastery, because with the defeat, I still got 840 base XP. Our T-34 had a belter of a game. He did nearly 6k damage and had 1100 base XP on a loss. So it was even more gutting for that guy. But the rest of the team was actually quite lackluster. Object 704, 3.4k, 3.5k damage, and then it drops down to 1600, 1900, 1600, and then there's a massive drop off after that. So half the team did less than 1k damage. We had 4 guys that did 0 damage, including that botting IS-3. The enemy team, you actually look at the scores of the enemy team and the amount of damage. I mean, it's a much more even damage spread, which is actually kind of the ideal scenario for a team, is you have a more even damage spread and maybe a couple of guys at the top with decent damage. But in this case, we had the better top players, but they just couldn't do enough, and it was a loss. So that was unfortunate. It was like one person botting effectively cost us that match. That one IS-3, if they'd even been a half decent player, even if they'd been a terrible player and soaked up a few shots that the T-34 took, for instance, that could have made a lot of difference. If the T-34 had gone into that final encounter with a lot more health, that could have been a win. So it's like that just ruined the game for everybody. It just, yeah. So there we go. That was not a fun game especially, but it was at that point the best game I'd had in the Tortoise. I've had other good games, so you'll get to see others. It's just, this was a tale from the stock grind. And I have to say, as stock grinds go, the Tortoise with the 20-pounder isn't terrible. There are far worse tank destroyer stock grinds, but it's... yeah, I actually don't think I've got ace tanker yet with the Tortoise. I don't even know if I've matched that high damage score yet either. That still might be the most damage I've ever done the Tortoise. I'd have to look that up. So if you did enjoy this replay, you can hit the like button, you can leave a comment below, you can subscribe to my channel, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.